bankruptcy court does not have the same power over it as it would otherwise. Now, is this an ironclad guarantee? No, that's not always going to be the case. But having all of these things in a row, understanding all these pieces, will make a huge difference. And believe me, this is what you want to install into your real estate business and into your LLCs. Now, let me keep going. Because the reason most business owners miss out on all this is because the cost of putting all this together is way beyond the reach of most investors. And even if you can get help from most attorneys, the big guys that sell the giant $25,000 packages, usually they're looking for a lot of fees to just get fees for setting this up, fees for making it complicated, fees for maintaining it. And the problem, and I was talking with Mike about this before the call, remember, Mike, where there was that lady that she had this huge elaborate structure set up with all these trusts, all these LLCs, all these partnerships. She presented this to me and said, well, I liked what you were saying, but look at how good this is. Look what I've got. I said, how much did you pay for this? Well, it was $20,000. And I said, I'm going to ask you one question. Who's behind all this? Is there anybody behind it but you? And I said, before you answer, I want you to think about this. You go in front of the judge, and your attorney has to tell the judge that there's nobody behind this entire scheme but you. The judge is going to laugh. I call it the straight face argument, because there's no way with a straight face that you could justify that whole setup for any other reason but keeping creditors out of your business. And the judges want to see that fairness is done, because if you're liable, you're not going to be able to keep creditors out of things with some crazy hokey structure like that has no reasonable possible justification for its use. And she said, no, I am the only person behind that. Now, guess what? What about UFTA? What if right after she gets sued, she goes in and starts adding members? Is UFTA gonna basically rewind that tape and take everything back to the way that it was? Absolutely. So that's not going to work either. And then sometimes the investors say, well, you know what, I won't go to those big asset protection guys. I'll go to the local attorney. Guess what? Those attorneys aren't going to have necessarily the ability to serve you either, because they focus just on filing the entity. It's like somebody that studies how to create a car, but they never go out and test ride it and see where it crashes. You got to know where the entities are crashing. You got to also come from the place that you're not looking for attorneys' fees in setting all these things up. You got to come from a very honest place of wanting to give people information, giving it to them in a way that they can use it without spending hundreds and hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars. That's where I'm at, because the truth is that most attorneys will look for mistakes after the business entity is filed. And in truth, that lady that spent all that money to set up that entity, I guarantee you, Mike, if I went in and looked at what she did, I would find that she messed it up. She didn't have her corporations run properly. And here's the truth. The dominating factor in your protection is you and only you. So there has to be a new balance here between the high-dollar courses and all that mess with fees and all that huge salesmanship, and then the attorneys that really are just making all this money just setting up the entities and giving people something that they don't even know really works. There has to be something that trains the investor to do things the right way. Well, that's why I'm here. And that's why I found that, and you guys don't have to read all this, I'm just going to summarize it, that most people are not getting instruction on where the creditors are going in and tearing open the companies. Most average attorneys are not studying that. And I uncovered for 2009 28 deadly traps that investors are getting themselves sucked into, that people like my parents were getting sucked into before they learned how to run the entity correctly, because this information just wasn't out there. That those people that I worked for at that law firm for a very brief time, they were banking on people like you, people like me, people like the people I love, not knowing these traps. That's why I put this together. See, that's what's most important. Now, let me keep going, Mike, because I want to give people a lot of content and realize, I got to be honest, if I found 28 traps that take me hours to go through, there's no way on this call that I can go through all of them, and even if I flew through them, there's no way that people will be able to fully grasp them because I'd be moving too fast. Just no way. But I can at least start sharing some of these with the time I have left. Let me cover one of them. Most people don't realize, Mike, real estate investors, that they are personally liable for their own negligence. Now, for a lot of people say, well, what does that mean, negligence? Why am I personally liable for my negligence? Let me give you an example.